Okay, so I'm going to be going over my linked learning lesson plan. So I did this for a grade level 12th grade, and like a government econ class. So the duration of the lesson is 50 minutes, as you can see. And the major content focus is to understand and evaluate the principles of the federal government's regulations of complementary and alternative medicine, also known as CAM. I actually pulled that straight off the linked learning lesson plan that was given on the website for the discussion post. And the literacy focus that I came up with was construct a written response while incorporating citations of factual evidence to support and justify their answers to the daily inquiry question, which is also going to be their homework assignment, as you'll see later on in the lesson. So I pulled out 3 content standards. So these are all completely different from the ones that were given on the lesson plan because I didn't really like those because I kind of changed how the lesson plan was. So for the history, social science content standard was 12.3.1, and it says students analyze the influence of the federal government. I kind of deleted some of the stuff that it said because it wasn't really that related to this lesson. And then it said also understand how the role of government in a market economy often includes ... Also pulled off some information attempting to make markets more competitive and protecting consumers' rights. As for the English learning literacy standard, I put integrate and evaluate multiple sources of information presented in diverse formats of media in order to address a question or solve a problem. As you'll see in this lesson, students will be researching and doing that to meet that standard. As for the English learner standard, it is writing literally and informational text to present, describe, and explain ideas and information using appropriate technology. So you'll also see how students hit that standard later on through the lesson. So the 3 learning objectives I have for the lesson are the first one, which says students will be able to explain the general principles that underlie federal regulation of CAM, and how to assess this. It will be an informal formative assessment, so it won't be graded, but it will just be checked, and they'll be doing this by researching their assigned bibliography category of the 5 types of CAM. The next one objectives is students will be able to identify the benefits and drawbacks of 5 controversial examples. So as they do the jigsaw activity and fill out their CAM research worksheet, which will also be informal formative because they will be doing it in class, and it'll just be checked and made sure students understood. And then the last one is students will be able to apply general regulatory principles and evaluate the government's attempts to regulate these 5 practices. And so as for the CAM writing homework assignment, that's where they'll demonstrate this objective, and this will actually be graded as a formal formative assessment, so not a summative one. So the daily inquiry question is, how can we ensure the safety and effectiveness of complementary and alternative medicine, which is the overall goal that they are trying to answer in this lesson. My learning functions, I chose explain and evaluate because they're going to be explaining these 5 categories of CAM, and they're also going to be evaluating the government's regulatory practices on them and whether they agree or disagree with the government. Some of the content vocabulary I included hypnosis, marijuana, chiropractic, and acupuncture. And the discourse includes small group discussion, which will be done during the jigsaw activity, as well as a written response, which is the homework assignments. And then the misconceptions, students may believe that the government simply prohibits or permits a type of CAM and its practitioners, when in fact it regulates specific CAM practices or aspects. Students may also believe that CAM regulations show steady progress towards greater or less regulations, when in fact the history of regulations shows a variety of changes in policy direction. I actually just pulled that right off of the misconceptions page on the given linked learning site. So for my engage part, I did use the social studies lesson template. As you can tell, not the 3SB one, but it's very similar. So the first part of the lesson, the teacher will begin class with showing a short YouTube video, and as you can see, this is going to be the short YouTube video. It's only 2 minutes and 33 seconds. So she'll show that, and it's about medical marijuana or medicinal marijuana and how it just by using it, this man with severe Parkinson's disease, his Parkinson's, like his shaking stops. So students will then like respond in their journals for about 10 minutes, like writing their thoughts, and then do like a short discussion about like what students wrote in their thing. Then moving on to the next explore stage for 10 minutes. This is where the teacher will pass out the 5 types of CAM bibliography. And that's what this looks like right here. And so they'll be research in groups. They'll pick one of these, or be assigned one of these 5 categories, and then click on the links and research it and fill out their CAM research worksheet, as you can see right here. So that's what they will be doing in the explore stage and in the explain stage. So as you can see, the jigsaw right here. So, and then for checking for understanding in the explore page, the teacher should be walking around the room, observing and listening to students to assure that they're on task. And then for the checking understanding in the explain page is that the teacher will have groups share out at the end of class after the jigsaw activity to assure that everyone has the same and correct answers on their CAM research worksheet. And next, for the extend part, the teacher will assign the homework assignment, which will have students choose one of the 5 types of CAM and write a 1-paragraph report assessing whether it is overregulated or underregulated and why. Their report must cite at least 2 facts from a reputable source regarding the efficacy, safety, or cost of the CAM practice, or the practitionerly or federal regulation the assignment will be due at the beginning of class for next period. Excuse me. For EL students, the differentiation for them will be pre-assigned into groups with stronger English literacy students that can help assist, and they'll also receive a writing scaffold for their homework assignment that helps structure their writing paragraph. As for students with disabilities, the YouTube clip that will be shown will have subtitles, so this will help with students that may have hearing disabilities so they can read it. And then for accelerated students, this was actually pulled right off the site for the Link Learning, and it says have students nominate other controversial types of CAM for use in a lesson like this, and ask them to justify their choices. Also ask students to provide sources for research on that particular CAM and its regulation. Excuse me. And then the last 10 minutes of class, teacher will ask students if they have changed their opinions about any or all the types of CAM as a result of their research and discussions, and if they have a more positive or more critical opinion on the federal FDA. And then the last part of my lesson is the materials and resources. And that concludes everything. Thank you.